Welcome to Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for choosing to join into this week's episode. Now in this week's episode we're going to look at Edie's hair here, and as you can see there's quite a lot of copper going on, but Edie feels like being more like a strawberry blonde. We'll talk about the wares and pitfalls of doing these kind of things in more detail over on the Life of Hair digital platform, which you can find linked down in the description. Check it out. You can cancel your subscription at any time. Today Edie's asked me if she could maybe go a little lighter for the summer. And so but she's got a reasonably dark root. The reason I say we get the colour checker to check it exactly is that when you've got a really, really warm colour next to a natural, it can be deceiving to the human eye exactly what level it is, because the warm colour reflecting onto it can make it look lighter. So what we're going to do, grab our colour checker, come in and look, and actually it's a level 6, although here now, to my eye, it looks like a 7, but it's bang on a level 6. That way I've seen a million times in a million consultations, is that, you know, your client comes in, they think they should say something like, yeah, I don't mind high maintenance, but they really don't mean that. And then of course what you do is you do a high maintenance look, they never come back, or they come in for one maintenance service, they realise how high maintenance their hair is, and then you don't really see them again because they just truly can't afford it. I would rather do something that I didn't see Edie for 6 months and her come back to me than do that two visits in 6 weeks jobby and end up Edie saying actually it's too expensive. Do you know what I mean? So that's really important to me. They're my values as a hairdresser, and that's served me pretty well over the years. For the virtue of this particular FU highlight to kind of break up this this very orangey root area and you know, bring it down into this already existing lightness through this end. But in between, to diffuse this natural level 6 root, we should probably put like a little root shadow in between the highlights, and that will soften that line that is created by the fact that Edie's got that darker level 6 regrowth there. Okay, so what we're going to do with Edie's hair now is we split it into 4 quadrants you've just seen. We're going to take a horizontal section across the top like that. These combs that I've been using from Framar that I think are just like cheating. In fact, we were just talking about, you know, these particular combs, and you just jam them in and they make the sections for you. Probably some people will be like, oh, but you know, I'm a purist and da 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 da. I think when you're at work doing clients 5-6 days a week or whatever, how often you're doing your clients, just make your life as easy as humanly possible for yourself. Yes, they take a little bit of getting used to, but it's like anything, isn't it? When you first learnt to do your weaving, that was a little bit of a tricky thing to learn. But they come in 3 different sizes. I'm going to use all 3 different sizes here today on this particular look. So this is the chunkiest one. And then when I'm round the top at the front, I'll probably just drop down to the finer one. But it's one of those things, I just think, you know, you've got to make your life as easy as humanly possible. So all you do, take a slice off the top, pick up your section. Instead of weaving it, you just jam your comb in, pick off the top. Bob's your uncle. Every few seconds you can save in a job like this is an enormous amount of time when you get to the end of the job. One of my friends, who's a really fantastic mentor of mine of many, many years, said to me that every movement that you make that is unnecessary costs you time. And that's always stuck in my head, you know, especially when I was a commercial hairdresser and I was doing 13 clients a day or whatever, you know, that really does add up. So we'll just swap combs now. We've gone to a slightly finer comb, and same premise, just jam it in. You've got to be confident with this comb. That's the only thing that I'd say, is that you've just got to push it into the hair really firmly. But look, it would take me so much more time to make it like that if I was like weaving. Honestly, I've retired from weaving. I'm retired. My weaving days are over. Okay, so I've just finished this side. I just wanted to show you, so did exactly the same thing, wider sections at the bottom, finer sections towards the top. And we've started about 1.5 centimetres away from the hairline at the bottom, and the sections are about 1.5 centimetres until we get to kind of just the top of the occipital bone, and then it's dropped down to about 7 or 8 millimetres, and then I've been using the fine tooth weave. So we're going to start on this left hand side now, and we're just going to do pretty much exactly what we did on the previous section at the back. We're going to start a bit lower down though, just probably about 1 centimetre above the ear. We've got the old chunky weave out, you know, like I say. If you want to go in with a Pintail comb and do a normal weave, you know, then obviously be my guest. But we're going to go chunkier lower down. Number one, we're going to get more coverage. You could use a slice for maximum coverage, but I still want it to be kind of diffused in the hair. Diffusion and confusion. So I think it's also kind of reasonably important that we stick with a weave for this particular instance as well, as we're going to be putting a root stretch in between each of these sections anyway. So we're just going to feed it down, and also we're just kind of not overlapping the ends, which I'm sure a lot of you know that. And we're using a 9 level bleach with 20 volume with a Bonder additive, the Innerlux V3. And then we'll do all the post-treatment stuff with all that as well, just to make sure the condition's as nice as we can make it. The other really important thing to remember is that we're now on our 3rd bowl of bleach, which isn't because we've used tons and tons of bleach, it's just that we're remixing as we go. So that's really important to remember, that you keep your bleach fresh, it works better for longer. If it's sat in the bowl for half an hour oxidising, you know, by the time you get up here, you end up feeling like you need to bump your developer sometimes, but probably what you just need is fresh bleach throughout. Each quadrant has pretty much had its own bowl of lightener. So I know it's a pain to keep going back to your colour room, but actually one of the things that I do advocate, maybe on the shop floor, is that you can bring the lightener over to your section and mix up your lightener, you know, at your section in front of your client. It's not a secret, is it? I mean, you know, we're not trying to hide anything from them. And if you're using a Bonder as well, it's also nice to add the Bonder in front of the client, because that kind of adds a little sort of element of, you know, this is your bonding treatment that they're paying extra for going into the product, you know, blah, blah, blah. You can talk a little bit about aftercare then of Bonders. I have talked about aftercare of Bonders in a video over on the Life of Hair Extra, and why you need to use number 3, I called it. But I mean, at the same time, this is true of all Bonders, so if you want to know why you should be using the aftercare with any bonding service, then go and check that video out. It's really, really important to use the take-home phase of any Bonder, but I won't spoil it, so go and have a little look. So I've just done exactly the same thing now. I've just come up to the parietal ridge, just along the top of the bone above the ear here, and I've just dropped down to the medium weave, and then I'll be doing that for a few more sections, and then I'll drop down to the final weave again. Thank you all. When you're applying your bleach to your sections as well, remember to be really liberal with the amount of bleach you're using, taking your sections, working it in side to side, making sure you get the hair moving so that its saturation is even and consistent. That's how you're going to get the best lift in the shortest amount of time, and making sure that you get that even saturation root to tip so that you get a consistent lift throughout the hair. So I've just come up above the parietal ridge now, and I've swapped to the finer tooth comb to give us a little bit more diffusion up above this parietal ridge area. Now I'm working horizontally as well because I want maximum coverage. Sections, people think it's a little bit old school, but I think once you know why you would use a horizontal section, and it's not the only section that you ever use, then that's also really important to acknowledge. There's no such thing as like an old school technique, it's just knowing why. Really simple tint application. You don't want to be too frilly with this. As I say, we're going to blend it down a little bit anyway. So that's probably going to be the best parts to watch in this particular application, because not very interesting what I'm doing now. This is just the most simple tint application possible. All we're going to do is paint down towards the lip of the foil. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to stretch it now. Really simple, probably seen this before, but always good to go over these things. The mother of all education is repetition. So what we're going to do, come in with our comb, angle it towards us and feed it down. We're not going to go in at the root area where there's the most colour. We're going to start about halfway to a third of the way down the saturation, and then we're going to feed the product down the hair like that. We want it to be shiny, glossy, lots of product at the roots, satin looking here, matte all the way through the ends. And we just do that to each and every section throughout the hair while it processes. I'm going to start in the front, and then I'm going to work my way through to the back, and then we're going to cut it and dry it, and then you'll see it right at the end. And here we have the finished result from Edie's hair. It's a beautiful, soft, gold end result. Now I know gold can be a bit iffy with some people, they don't like gold, but if you've got the right skin tone, gold is king. Think about this. Lots and lots of people have very, very cool colours put on their hair, and it truly doesn't suit them. I see it all the time when I'm walking down the road. There is this mass obsession with ash, everybody having ash or natural, neutral, flat hair. But for a lot of people, if you've got slightly yellowy skin, pinky skin, having that warm colour really can make that skin tone pop and make you look more alive. And so I think it's really about time we got over that fear of warmth and we start to embrace the warmth within our own natural hair. You know, everybody's hair goes warm. I hear it so often. My hair throws up a lot of orange. My hair is very warm. My hair lifts this. All hair does. All hair lifts warm. End of story. And you are no different to anybody else, because the pigment underneath, the natural colour, is warm. And when we lift someone's tinted hair, we release warm pigmentation. So it is highly likely that if you have got warm skin, you will suit warm hair. The prejudice is in between your ears that comes out through your eyes. So about time we all started thinking a little bit more about wearing our hair warmer. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you again very soon for another episode of Life of Hair.